Look at this one. The voice cuts through the quiet hum of the diner. It is sharp, oily, full of a lazy contempt that has never known consequences. Deputy Miller stands in the doorway, his hand resting on his holstered weapon, a posture of casual authority. His partner, a younger man named Evans, lingers a step behind, his expression uncertain. Miller's gaze is fixed on the man in the corner booth. The man is large. He sits alone, a mountain of quiet stillness. A gray hoodie and dark sweatpants obscure his form, suggesting softness. He hunches slightly over a plate of pancakes, methodically cutting a piece, lifting it to his mouth, and chewing. He does not look up. Just what we need, Miller says, his voice louder now, meant to carry. Another one. The handful of other patrons in the Northwood diner freeze. Forks pause midair. Conversations die. The air grows thick and heavy. Evans shifts his weight. Dave, let's just get our coffee. In a minute, Rook. Miller sneers, never taking his eyes off the man in the booth. He saunters forward, the worn leather of his duty belt creaking with each step. He stops beside the table, looming. The man continues eating. He seems oblivious. Or perhaps something else. You got a problem? Miller's voice is a low growl. The man finishes his mouthful. He carefully places his fork down. He looks up, and his eyes are calm. Impossibly calm. They are dark, deep, and hold a stillness that is unnerving. No, deputy, the man says. His voice is a low baritone. Even. Measured. I do not. You look like a problem to me. Miller presses, leaning in, invading his space. The smell of stale coffee and unearned power radiates from him. What are you doing here? This ain't your usual spot. The man's gaze does not waver. I am eating breakfast, smart mouth. Miller spits. He taps a thick finger on the table. I want to see some identification. Now, the man does not move immediately. His eyes hold Miller's. There is no fear in them. No anger. Only a profound, unnerving patience. It is the patience of a predator, of a mountain waiting for the storm to pass. He complies. He always complies. Slowly, deliberately, he reaches into the pocket of his sweatpants and pulls out a simple leather wallet. He extracts a driver's license and places it on the table. Miller snatches it. Marcus Thorne. He reads the name with a mocking tone. He glances at the photo, then back at the man. You don't look like you're from around here, Marcus. I grew up here. Marcus replies, his voice still perfectly level. Yeah, well, things have changed. Miller says, sliding the license back across the table. We don't appreciate your kind loitering. I am not loitering, Marcus states. I am a paying customer. He gestures with his chin toward the half-eaten plate. On the counter, a white bakery box sits waiting. This composure infuriates Miller. He expects fear. He expects deference. He is getting nothing but calm, factual statements. It feels like defiance. Maybe I think you're casing the place, Miller says, his voice rising. Maybe I think you fit the description of a suspect from the doorway. Evans speaks up, his voice tight. Dave, there's no call out. Shut up, Evans. Miller barks, not looking away from Marcus. I'll decide when there's a call out. This man, Marcus Thorne, is an anomaly. In this town, in this life, Marcus has only ever been one thing, a weapon, forged in the crucible of Paris Island, honed in the deserts of Fallujah and the mountains of Afghanistan. Sergeant Major Marcus Thorne, a name spoken with reverence in the barracks of force reconnaissance units. A living legend. Under the soft gray hoodie are not rolls of fat, but slabs of dense, functional muscle. 250 pounds of lethality, disciplined into absolute stillness. The softness is a disguise, a deliberate choice. He is home on compassionate leave. His mother, the woman who raised him with fierce love in a small house just 3 miles from this diner, is sick. The doctors use quiet, final words. So he came home, not as a warrior, but as a son. He shed his uniform. He shed the bearing and the aura of command. He wanted to be invisible. He wanted to walk into this diner, the same one he came to as a boy for a treat, and buy his mother her favorite strawberry rhubarb pie for her 70th birthday. He wanted one simple, peaceful moment. But peace is a luxury the world rarely affords. Deputy Evans feels a cold knot of dread in his stomach. This is wrong. He has been on the force for 6 months, partnered with Dave Miller for 3 of them. He has seen Miller's casual cruelty, his lazy racism, the way he bullies the weak because he can. The sheriff, a man named Brody, calls it old-school policing. Evans calls it a sickness. He watches Miller puffing out his chest, a caricature of authority. And he watches the big man, Marcus Thorne, who absorbs it all with a terrifying calm. Evans is a cop. He knows how to read people. Fear has a look. Anger has a look. This man shows neither. He shows nothing. And that is the most frightening thing of all. Evans knows he should intervene. He should say something more forceful. But he is the rookie. Miller is the veteran with the sheriff's ear. Speaking up means reports, backlash, a career stalled before it even begins. So he stays silent. A witness. A coward. The thought burns in his gut. I'm going to need you to stand up, Miller commands. Put your hands on the table. Marcus Thorne looks at the deputy. His gaze is analytical. He is assessing, calculating, the way he would assess a hostile combatant before neutralizing a threat. On what grounds am I being detained, deputy? Marcus asks. The question is precise, legalistic. The query catches Miller off guard. He flushes with anger. On the grounds that I said so. Now get up, or I'll haul you up slowly. Marcus pushes his chair back. He rises to his full height, and for the first time, the sheer size of him is apparent. He is immense, dwarfing the deputy. He places his large hands flat on the table, palms down. You are making a mistake, Marcus says, not as a threat, but as a simple statement of fact. The only mistake was you walking in my town today, Miller growls. He begins a rough, invasive pat-down. He is needlessly aggressive, slapping Marcus's sides and legs. He finds nothing. A wallet, keys, a phone. His frustration mounts. He needs a reason. He needs a justification for this confrontation he started. He shoves Marcus forward, hard. Turn around. Face the counter. Marcus stumbles, catching his balance against the Formica countertop. His movements are surprisingly fluid, graceful even, for a man his size. The shove sends the white bakery box tumbling. It hits the floor with a soft, dull thud. The lid pops open. The strawberry rhubarb pie, his mother's favorite, lies upside down on the grimy linoleum. A smear of red filling spreads like a wound. Silence. A profound, ringing silence. Miller looks down at the ruined pie. A slow, ugly grin spreads across his face. Oops, he says, his voice dripping with false sincerity. Clumsy me. He plants his heavy boot directly in the center of the pie. He grinds it into the floor. A deliberate, final act of desecration. And that is the breaking point. It is not the insults. It is not the illegal search. It is the pie. It is the thought of his mother's disappointed face. The violation of this one small, simple act of love he had tried to perform for her. Something inside Marcus Thorne shifts. The calm remains on his face, a mask of granite. But his eyes change. The stillness becomes ice. The patience becomes a promise. He does not resist when Miller wrenches his arms behind his back and snaps handcuffs onto his wrists. The cold metal bites into his skin. He does not flinch. You're under arrest, Miller announces triumphantly to the silent diner. Resisting an officer. Disorderly conduct. He yanks Marcus toward the door. Evans rushes to open it, his face pale, his eyes avoiding Marcus's. The trap is sprung. But it is not Marcus Thorne who is caught in it. It is Deputy Dave Miller. He is taking his prisoner to the one place he feels invincible. The sheriff's station. His kingdom. He does not realize he is marching toward his own execution. The processing room at the Northwood Sheriff's Department is small and smells of disinfectant and despair. Miller shoves Marcus into a hard plastic chair bolted to the floor. He is gloating. He struts around the room, recounting his version of the story to the desk sergeant, a weary man who has seen this all before. This one thought he was a tough guy. Had to teach him some respect. Marcus Thorne sits in silence, cuffed, his head slightly bowed. He is a picture of defeat. A perfect victim. Sheriff Brody emerges from his office, a thick-set man with a perpetually annoyed expression. He glances at Marcus. What's this, Dave? Just taking out the trash, Sheriff, Miller says with a wink. Got a real smart mouth on him. Thinks he's a lawyer, Brody grunts. He has known about Miller's methods for years. He has buried a dozen complaints. Miller is a problem, but he is a loyal problem. Brody turns and goes back into his office, closing the door on the matter. Complicit. All right, tough guy, Miller says, turning back to Marcus. You get one phone call. Marcus looks up. I would like to make my call now. Miller gestures to the phone on the wall. He uncuffs one of Marcus's hands. Marcus stands. He does not call a lawyer. He does not call a family member. He dials a 10-digit number from memory. A Washington, D.C. area code. The call is answered on the first ring. A clipped, professional voice. "Watch officer." Marcus speaks, his voice low but clear, each word precise. "This is Sergeant Major Thorne, Marcus. I am declaring a Patriot Red situation." Miller, who was listening in, snorts with laughter. "Sergeant Major? You? You couldn't run 100 yards. Marcus ignores him, his focus entirely on the call. "My location is the Northwood County Sheriff's Department, Northwood, State of Georgia. Authentication code, Victor Tango 39er Alpha." There is a pause on the other end, then a flurry of typing. The voice comes back, sharp and urgent. "Authentication confirmed, Sergeant Major. Asset is active. Stand by. A response team is being mobilized." What is the nature of the threat? "Unlawful detainment by local law enforcement." Marcus says calmly. "Hostile contact is armed. Requesting immediate intervention." "Understood, Sergeant Major. ETA is 20 minutes. Hold your position." The line goes dead. Marcus hangs up the phone. He turns and holds his wrist out for Miller to recuff him. Miller is shaking his head, a mocking grin on his face. "Patriot Red? Response team? You've been watching too many movies, pal." "Who was that?" "Your buddy from the video game store." He shoves Marcus back into the chair. 20 minutes, huh? I can't wait." The next 19 minutes crawl by. Miller continues his taunts. Evans stands in the corner, a statue of misery and indecision. The desk sergeant types reports, pretending not to hear. Then a sound, faint at first, then growing rapidly louder. The rhythmic thumping of helicopter blades. Everyone in the station freezes. The sound gets closer, closer, until it is a deafening roar directly overhead. It is not a news chopper. It is not a medical transport. It sounds like war. Simultaneously, tires screech outside. The sharp slam of multiple car doors. The front doors of the station burst open. For men in crisp military police uniforms and tactical gear sweep into the room. They move with an efficiency and purpose that makes the local deputies look like clumsy children. They create a perimeter. Behind them strides a man in a perfectly pressed Army classy uniform. A constellation of stars glitter on his shoulders. His chest is a billboard of distinguished service medals. He is Lieutenant General Wallace, commander of the nearby Fort Benning. His face is a mask of cold fury. His eyes scan the room and lock onto Marcus, sitting cuffed in the chair. The general's voice is quiet, but it cracks like a whip in the stunned silence. "Sheriff Brody, what is the meaning of this?" Sheriff Brody stumbles out of his office, his face slack with disbelief. "Why?" General Wallace continues, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper as he points a finger at Marcus. "Is a national hero and one of the most decorated non-commissioned officers in the United States Marine Corps, sitting in your jail in handcuffs." The bottom falls out of Deputy Miller's world. The blood drains from his face. He looks from the general, to the military police, to the big, quiet man in the chair. The man who is now looking directly at him. The calm is gone from his eyes, replaced by something as hard and final as a tombstone. "Sergeant Major." The words echo in the silent room. Disbelief gives way to raw, primal panic on Miller's face. He starts to stammer. He was resisting. This is the moment of choice. Deputy Evans takes a single step forward. His voice is shaking, but it is clear. "That's not true, sir." "General, sir." Every eye in the room swivels to him. "I was there," Evans says, finding a strength he never knew he possessed. He did everything he was told. Deputy Miller had no probable cause. He harassed him. He assaulted him. "I saw everything. The moral witness has spoken." The final nail is hammered into the coffin. General Wallace's gaze shifts to Miller. It is not a look of anger. It is a look of utter contempt. "Get those cuffs off my Sergeant Major." Now a military police officer steps forward with a key. The cuffs are removed from Marcus's wrists. Marcus Thorne stands up. He rolls his shoulders, the movement full of contained power. He is no longer just a large man in a hoodie. He is a sergeant major of the United States Marine Corps. The authority settles on him like a mantle. General Wallace turns to Sheriff Brody. "Your department, Sheriff, is now the subject of a federal investigation, effective immediately. I have already spoken with the governor and the regional director of the FBI. They are en route. You and your deputy here are to surrender your badges and your weapons. You are relieved of duty. The fallout is swift. It is biblical. Federal agents descend on the small station like locusts. They seize computers, files, everything. The diner owner, hearing the news, calls and eagerly offers the security footage from that morning. It is crystal clear. It shows every insult, every shove, every moment of Miller's unprovoked aggression. It shows him grinding the pie into the floor. The investigation into Miller uncovers a deep, rotten history. A dozen other complaints, all from minority victims, all systematically buried by Sheriff Brody. What began with one man in a diner becomes a full-scale systemic purge. A cancer being cut out. Miller is not just fired. He is arrested by the FBI on federal charges of violating civil rights under color of authority. His photo is plastered on the evening news, his face a mask of pathetic confusion. The bully, stripped of his power, is nothing. Sheriff Brody is forced into a dishonorable retirement, his pension stripped, his name a permanent stain on the town's history. He is charged with obstruction of justice and conspiracy. His complicity has a price, and it is finally being paid in full. In the chaos, General Wallace places a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "I'm sorry you had to go through this, Sergeant Major," Semper Fi, General, Marcus says, his voice quiet. He looks over at the young deputy, Evans, who is giving his statement to an FBI agent. The kid did the right thing. The hard thing. The resolution is not confined to the station. Weeks later, Marcus is back at Camp Lejeune, shaping a new generation of Marines. He moves with purpose, his voice a low rumble of command that new recruits both fear and respect. A letter arrives for him. It is from the new interim mayor of Northwood. It contains a formal apology on behalf of the town and a check for damages. Marcus endorses the check and sends it to the Northwood Youth Center with a note: "For the next generation, Deputy Evans is not punished. He is celebrated. He is the face of the new Northwood Sheriff's Department, which is being rebuilt from the ground up under federal supervision. He is promoted to detective, a recognition of his integrity." He calls Marcus one evening. "I just wanted to thank you, Sergeant Major," Evans says, his voice full of emotion. "You didn't have to be so calm. You could have ended it." In that diner, Marcus is silent for a moment. He remembers the feeling, the cold fire that had ignited when that pie hit the floor. He remembers the decades of training screaming at him to act. "Discipline, detective," Marcus says finally. "Sometimes, the hardest fight is the one you choose not to have. It gives the enemy room to defeat themselves." He hangs up the phone and looks out over the training grounds. A new day is dawning. A new set of recruits is ready to be forged. The world is full of injustice, but it is also full of good people willing to stand up. Sometimes, all they need is for someone to show them the way. He had been underestimated. He had been invisible. But in the end, he was seen. And that was enough. The system began to change. One small town, one corrupt deputy, one quiet warrior at a time. The work continues.